Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Today we are on SpeedGaming 3, bringing you a Link to the Past Randomizer Spoiler Tournament match between daaanty and azder. And this is going to be round 1 of the Swiss stage of this tournament, so obviously both runners still at 0-0. And calling this match tonight, I am Reg. I am joined by Hammer. So Hammer, why don't you tell the viewers a bit about the spoiler format, teach them a bit for those who may not know.
Sure, so if you guys are unfamiliar with this, you are in for a treat. Essentially how this works is the runners have 15 minutes before, basically just now, where they get the spoiler log. And the spoiler log tells them everything from what locations are where shot is, that sort of thing. It also tells them what the tree pulls are, what the crabs are, or the bush crabs are hoarding, and everything else that they need. So medallions required to get in, what dungeons are your crystals and pendants, which as you can see by our tracker, they are already loaded below. And they have 15 minutes to try to assemble a route that allows them to get through this game as efficiently as possible. So you're going to see a lot of chests skipped. You're going to see probably not a lot of health, a very minimal amount of safeties, and you're going to see these runners go through as quickly as they can. Preferably, we like going for somewhere around 50 minutes to an hour for completion time, unless the seed is terrible. And with that being said, we are underway.
Underway with an immediate heart container in the sanctuary. Nobody ever going to say no to a free sank heart.
Especially not in the spoiler log tournament, because these are hearts tend to be a little more rare than you're used to seeing in a regular rando.
Right. I think the general goal for most runners in this format is somewhere in the neighborhood of 7-ish hearts. More if they're right in the way. Probably would opt to save time over getting up to that 7 if things are way out of the way. Hey, there's a flute.
It's honestly a really convenient spot for that flute. Spoiler log or no, but our runner is probably very pleased to see that. That's one thing that lets us run around Hyrule with a significant increase in speed, so we'll take it where we can get it.
Yep. Also very good, lets us up to, say, Death Mountain without any gloves, which not that many checks there without a lot more items, but we'll get there eventually. We're going to need them all anyways. Just looking over the pendant and crystal layout we've got that Swamp Palace crystal, which means we're absolutely going to need the magic mirror at some point, also going to need the hook shot at some point, and those are the two big items for mountain mobility.
Alright, so early bow in the well. We also grabbed some bombs that are absolutely going to be needed. Bombs are important in an early game no matter what, and in a spoiler log even more so, because you're not usually thinking about how you're going to get your bombs.
Yeah, good on both runners spotting those bombs there next to the bow and knowing to pick them up, because consumable management in spoiler format, very big deal. Bombs, rupees, and arrows, you're not going to just incidentally get dozens of all of those by just checking all the useless chests.
Yeah, that's a good point, and one of the main thing there is rupees. You don't really think about it, because usually, especially if you've played any sort of regular randomizer, you probably end the seed with well over 1,000 rupees, sometimes closer to 2 or 2,500 rupees as we run across our first sword. But you're not going to be doing that here, because you're not going to be getting all those big 20s, you're not going to be getting the couple 50 rupee hordes or the 300s unless you need them for something. So those rupees can really come in and sneak up on you, since we're definitely going to need 110 for pod. If Zora's a thing, we're going to need a whopping 500. And then there's chest game and digging game and smith, all these things that if required just are going to eat away at our rupees.
Yep. The biggest saving grace is that there are a few 300 rupee caches in the world, but if, say, they happen to all be in Ganon's Tower, then the runners would be in for some real hurt on the money. But right now, it's not that bad. We've used 2 of those 3 bombs we found. The runners have swords, which means that they're not going to need to use those bombs to kill things. And they've got gloves, which give them a little bit of extra access to the world. Not a ton, but still some. And that's a nice flipper location.
Yeah, it's most definitely amusing, if nothing else. Flippers in the dam? Okay.
Yeah, because the only thing in the game that hard requires the flippers and can't be sequence broken with any kind of fake flipper tricks is Swamp Palace. So having the flippers in the light world location for that, always pretty nice.
Yep, it's also a situation where you're kind of wondering, since azder did skip them, are they thinking about grabbing them right before going into Swamp proper? As speaking of Swamp, there's our mirror and a cane of Burner to go with it. Might as well grab it. It might come in handy at some point.
Yeah. Honestly, especially now that that mirror is in hand, I think that grabbing the flippers the second you go into Swamp Palace and not before is pretty solid idea if you don't want to use them for something else, like Dante going up here to the Zora area pretty much immediately with them, while azder's choosing the mountain instead.
Yep, and this is kind of an interesting set of choices, as we have, oh boy, we have a book in the Waterfall Fairy. That's fun.
Yep. Could see that followed into Desert Palace at some point. Other than that, it's really only good for tablets once we find a second sword. And the runners already know what's on those, and they already know what's on the Master Sword pedestal, so there's no need to read there. azder cut it a bit close with that dead rock, but into Tower of Hair on half a heart. Might look to see him take a death in this room to refill.
Yeah, low health Death Mountain isn't fun, since, yeah, we're, those boulders, they do a heart of damage. And no matter what armor you have on, they do a heart of damage. So they can sneak up on you pretty quickly.
Yeah, and they're just such a pain to dodge. And hey, there's a first item in Tower of Hair. I got some mitts. Big key, too, means that we can go upstairs. But no option for the Harapot clip here to save some time because no hook shot. And luckily, we don't have to go down to the vanilla big key location to get that key. And we do see Dante entered the tower on twice as much health as azder did, but not taking a death warp for a refill here. Gonna just tough it out with 1 heart. There are a couple underpots to find though, so.
Hold on a minute. Saying twice as much health is a little bit misleading, since twice as much health gives us, well, 1 heart.
It's better than 2 times 0.
That is fair. Right now, those mini Moldorms are trying to make it 2 times 0.
Yeah, but they can't do it. And getting that heart under the pot sets up the bomb jump, and the sword differential only lasted, what, like 10 seconds? But that hurts.
Okay, so what did you say about the health being okay?
It was okay for him to do the bomb jump, which dealt 1 heart of damage to him. We do see azder grab the crystal. Dante went and grabbed the mitts and is going to climb it again. 3 hearts, can take a lot more of a beating this time. Won't have to spend 1 on the bomb jump to the big chest. And a lot of switch hitting there, getting that spin off that beetle. Those things do a ton of knockback.
Yeah, they really do. And the fact that sword spins will hit those switches 3 times is rather annoying. We did kind of skip over the fact that azder is sitting at 1 crystal at just 8 minutes in, and now heading towards the eastern area, which we can see is a pendant, but there might be something in here.
Well, he's skipping the dungeon itself because he fluted to 5, and if he wanted the palace, he would have just taken the lift rock and gone. So whatever he wants is in the back here. There's a lamp and the tempered sword. So we've got fire now. Can't burn very much with it, though.
I mean, I feel like saying we've got tempered sword at under 9 minutes is a little more significant than we have lamp. But based upon where he's going, we might need that lamp too.
Yeah. We've got both gloves at this point, so not going to need the lamp to get back to the sewers, which I'm pretty confident that both Dante and azder, as good as they are at this game, could do that in the dark if they wanted. But nope. azder's taking that lamp to the one place where it's actually wanted even for top level runners. We're climbing Aghanim's tower.
Alright, so we have a wonderful Aga required seed. At least they gave us tempered sword?
Yeah, tempered sword's great because as we just saw, it kills those gold ball and chain guards in one spin, kills the blue guards in one slash. The only real problem here is going to be sword beams, because if you had more health, you'd take an intentional hit to get rid of them, which we did see azder take a hit there for half a heart. That's pretty perfect. But intentional damage when you're on 4 hearts is always a little questionable.
Yeah, best case scenario, you're losing an eighth of your health bar, and some stuff here hits a bit harder than that.
Yep, it's looking like Dante's got his lamp, his tempered sword, and unless there's something in the castle that azder just straight up skipped, they're making the same play here to Aga. Which I will say, because chat's already talking about it a little bit, they are making this Aga play without a Moon Pearl, which means the only item they can check is the Pyramid Ledge, which means that the Moon Pearl is almost certain to be on or behind that at this point.
Yep, for pretty much any other thing, they would have grabbed the Moon Pearl first. Just because it would make routing a heck of a lot easier. You'd be able to do more than check the ledge. So we are looking at a Moon Pearl either on the ledge or something on the ledge leading to the Moon Pearl, which is fun. We like that, right? That's convoluted enough to be enjoyed.
Yeah, it could be a simple fetch quest. It could be something like the boots. But honestly, with as much of the light world as we've either seen or directly skipped at this point, I do think the smartest money is probably on the Pearl directly. Chat's also mentioning lumberjacks, which we have not seen the boots yet, so can't actually get that item until those turn up. But there could be something there as well, which would just be the icing on the cake.
I don't know that I'd call it icing at this point, as Aga is doing his best to absolutely Alright then, we'll be here for a while, guys.
Yeah. The saving grace here is that there's no time gain or time loss off these patterns for either runner. They will have the same one. One of the better features of the randomizer for racing.
Yep, and perhaps one of the amusing things that the spoiler log doesn't tell you how many blue balls you're going to get. So if you have an Aga seed, you're stuck in the dark like the rest of us. Well, they're not stuck in the dark because they do have the lamp, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But, yeah, well, it's one of those things. We don't need to know that in advance. That's just less fun. But there's Aghanim down for azder. He's got the mirror out. He's a bunny. And what's the item? Yeah, it's just directly the pearl.
Because of course it is.
Now, at this point, it's looking like he's going to be off to the main Dark World. No hammer means that this portal at the village is the only one he can use.
Yeah, and speaking of, at almost 14 minutes in, we really don't have all that much. Usually by this point, our runners have quite a few more key items, so this seed's really filtered us towards Aga, as we pull a nice clutch 100 rupees out of the chess game, and then the hook shot.
Yeah, the hook shot probably the bigger thing at this point. I'm wondering where Asher's going now. He grabbed that hook. No hammer means he wouldn't get very far in swamp, but he wants the east side of the mountain instead.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and for those of you who are counting, even for a spoiler log seed, we are sitting at 2 climbs up the mountain. The best music in the game, in my opinion.
I gotta agree with that one. Well, whatever we want looks to be in the Dark World Mountains. That's where we're starting. Of course, mirror means we can get back to the Light World whenever if there's goods in Paradox Cave and Spiral Cave.
Oh, that was a clutch 8 bomb drop from that guard.
Yeah, especially considering azder over here on 0 means that there are some locations that he can't reach. For example, you need bombs like those to get if anything's on the floating island.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, and this being a spoiler format, we can literally say azder knew those bombs were there and planned to pick them up.
Alright, so it looks like what we need is sitting over here in Hookshot Cave, as you mentioned. Although we might also have something in Floating Island. Hello, Boots.
Boots in Hookshot Cave is almost as classic as Hookshot in Hookshot Cave.
Ooh, not quite as classic as a Lionel to the face, though.
Yeah, I think that may have been intentional.
Sure, we'll
It may have been an attempt to save the portal in Kakariko and not have to go up all the way to the normal portal, because he had a mirror portal in front of that house. But since he'd already killed Aga, no go.
That one was definitely not intentional, but dead rocks are mean.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. It means daaanty is missing those boots unless he goes back. But he is going back. And taking the boots straight into Thieves Town, one of the best dungeons in the game to have them for. It's just all these long, straight hallways to dash through.
Yeah, another one of my favorite dungeons to have boots in is, ironically enough, Eastern Palace, which is the dungeon you don't get them for in the vanilla game. But there's a lot of really nice hallways. Getting revenge on that dead rock there, smacking it twice, and I think we're going to be okay now.
Yep, into the Dark World. There's nothing that really threatens you in Super Bunny Cave. So, he's in good shape. There's a hammer in Thieves Town. That's very convenient as well.
Yep, and as we keep following the string of items here, we are slowly getting closer to go mode.
Yep. There are no medallions required this seed, unless the Bombos medallion hides the ice rod, or hides the fire rod, excuse me, in Ice Palace, or there's something in a pendant dungeon. Could potentially get away with no Cane of Samaria on the same grounds, but that depends on Ganon's tower layouts as well.
As they're having to be really careful in Thieves down there.
Yeah, 1 heart. These cockroach things do 2 damage on green male. So he's playing 1-hit KO.
Yep, and at this point, it's going to be thank goodness for the Cane of Berna if you can manage to get there, because even though Blind does have a script, just any small mistake at this point would take out your last remaining bit of health.
Yep. But as long as... Actually, let me rephrase what I was going to say. A single full magic bar, to my knowledge, is not enough to kill Blind with the Cane of Berna if you never turn it off.
That's fair, but then at this point, I think our runners could pretty easily at least get the first 2 cycles really easily, and then you just flip on the cane for the last one.
Right. Much more of a concern if you're thrown into a cane-only fight, which is less of a concern in this mode. And that blue male is going to help survivability a fair bit too. At least knock down the direct hit damage from the heads.
Yep, and it goes from everything in the fight doing 1 heart of damage, whereas with the green male, the lasers do a single heart, and any part of blind is 2 hearts. So at least it's consistent damage. Same thing for Mothula. Oof.
Yep. And picking up that heart under that pot means that he can take 3 hits. And with the normal pattern here, in a good position to maybe not take any... Yep, there we go. Pretty much perfect script execution on Azder's side.
Yeah, meanwhile, daaanty over there using the Cane of Berna to make sure to get through that room quickly, because that is not friendly on green male when pretty much everything there does at least 1 heart, and a lot of stuff in there does 2 hearts instead of daaanty's on 2 hearts. Let's avoid that if we can.
Yep. Did go ahead, clean out the room for a little bit of safety, I would assume there. Grabbed an arrow refill, which actually puts them on the same count. I'm guessing Azder got a drop somewhere.
Alright, and we are into desert, looks like.
Got boots, got a fire source, got a glove. We can full clear this dungeon.
Yep, and not only that, but it's one of the safer dungeons to full clear at this point. 4 hearts, blue male. We're not in terrible condition, but we're not in great condition either.
Yeah. I mean, top tier vanilla speedrunners will clear this dungeon on 4 hearts green mail.
Yep, which is why we're here instead of going into Ice Palace. Well, that and we don't have Bombos in the fire rod, but I doubt that most of, just about any of our runners, I think, would rather hop into desert over Ice Palace at this point.
Yeah. My biggest concern at this point is that the bow is the standard vanilla speedrun weapon for killing land molas, even without silver arrows. But it's kind of an obnoxious fight. I know both of these runners are a lot better at that fight than I am, but I'm still curious to see how they do with it.
I feel like we're probably going to get a pretty heavy dose of Tempered Sword, if I had to guess.
Oh, right, that is a thing as well. I didn't even think about that, but Tempered Sword spins do the same damage to land molas as a rod shot will.
Alright, daaanty picks up his second crystal, and now we're sitting at 2 apiece. Meanwhile, Azder did pick up that mushroom, and desert, so it'll be interesting to see what that's going to be used for.
Yeah, only two things that it is good for. You either turn it in at the witch's hut or you do fake powder tricks with it.
Yes, and we all know which one you prefer.
Yeah.
What I'm hinting at is that my esteemed co-com over here, Reg, really genuinely does enjoy a good fake powder, especially in turning an anti-fairy into a regular fairy. So if we see one of those today, he'll be thrilled.
I will absolutely be thrilled if I get to see that. Oh. I don't know if that last hit on the landmo counted as a slash or a sword beam hit, but regardless, a lot of sword action there on the landmo was just as you predicted.
And honestly, a really good fight. I'm pretty sure that was a 2-cycle, so not a bad way to go for just a sword. Meanwhile, daaanty headed straight into swamp, so a little more divergence going on here.
Yep. Spoiler mode Swamp Palace means that you don't have to check the silly chests unless they actually have something good. So this will probably be a pretty quick dungeon. But wondering, are the goods in here, or did he just come because it's in the way and he's got to do it at some point?
Well, we'll see. I'll tell you what, though. We're not going to see Diver down unless daaanty is comfortable with the bomb version of it, since we are currently lacking that Cane of Samaria.
Good news is that the bomb version of that trick is not terribly difficult. It's just precise. But if you know where to stand for it, it's not that hard to get set up. But we'll see if either of these runners do know it. It does, even if we're not going to the left side here, it does save some time just from not flooding the room, and daaanty's going for it. So here we go.
Yep, meanwhile, azder are going to go ahead and grab their flippers, which they're going to need in less than 30 seconds here. And yep, we're going to see an attempted setup here.
Yep, that's good. And getting 20 rupees.
Alright, so daaanty officially has enough money for pod now.
And it's looking like that 20 rupees gonna be the only chest he opens in this dungeon. Of course, if Argus has something, then cool. If Argus doesn't have anything, we still practically go-moded Swamp Palace for a crystal. You can do that whenever you want. Just be in the region.
Yep, it is an interesting set of divergence, especially because azder went ahead and grabbed the mushroom out of the desert, which is debatably useful. We'll see when that comes in.
Yeah, depending on what that comes in for, if it comes in at all, Desert Palace is also a whenever you want play. Especially because that one in particular, you flute to flute to 6 and mirror in. That's literally just at your leisure.
Well, Argus did technically have something, as azder looks like they are foregoing the bomb version of Diver Down.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. I did say it was a time save, but I think it's something on the order of like 4 seconds if you do it well.
Alright, so I think we might get to see this this book come in.
Yep, this is definitely where the book's coming in. We didn't see it after Tower of Hera, so not going to be the Ether tablet. It's going to be the Fire Rod on the Bombos tablet.
You know, I'm really glad that was a spoiler log. This is a spoiler log seed, because that's not a fun place for that.
No, but honestly, at the same time, I don't think that's a bad place for that, even in non-spoiler. because remember where the Moon Pearl was. In a non-spoiler format, both of these guys are going to full clear the White World. Very, very few people do AGA without Pearl. So that would mean that they would both have the book and all the goods for Swamp Palace, and then they just go check Bombos right after, or even right before in some cases. Just at the end of their Dark World loop.
That is a fair point. Speaking of, I think daaanty's going to have, well, has the potential to have an easier Landmo fight, since that Fire Rod could make a one cycle possible.
Yep. Gotta hit all the shots, but if you can get it 6 that quickly, then he does have potential to save a cycle or two over what azder did. And here's that mushroom coming in.
Yep, unfortunately not for the reason that you prefer.
No. And daaanty actually skipping it, which it's 300 rupees. So, not required, but convenient.
That is fair, but now that azder is heading upwards towards the 500 rupee count, I, along with several other people in chat, I'm fairly certain, are starting to give the fish kind of a little bit of side eye here. Does Zora have something? Could be a possibility.
Yeah. Could be, but he's about to spend 110 of them to get into Palace of Darkness. That'll drag him below that 500 total.
Yeah, that's a good point. But then on the flip side, 416 rupees versus 116 rupees should be in the same set of like no man's land, especially because we don't currently have any bottles. Very nice kill on daaanty's side. We don't currently have any bottles with which to fill potions, and I'm fairly certain we've done everything else we need that would require money.
Well, there's a certain big red bomb that costs like 100 rupees.
That's a good point. I had completely forgotten about that.
The other thing that I think you're forgetting here is there is a certain U-shaped basement in this dungeon that has like 100-something rupees in it. Although just as a recap for chat, since they're asking about it, azder didn't pick up his Fire Rod after Swamp Palace because he had no Book of Medora to go check that tablet with. daaanty took a bit of an early game detour for that, which put him a little bit behind on the route, but let him get that immediately.
Yep, and the route, if you guys are curious and weren't here for the very beginning, that book is sitting in the Waterfall Cave. So it is Waterfall Cave to Bombo's tablet for the Fire Rod.
Yep. Which, if there is something on Zora, that does give azder a good chance to route that in at the same time. Would have to imagine that's what he's going for in that case.
Yeah, that would make sense. Especially since we did not have to take any look at the back of pod, so that rupee room that you had mentioned just kind of staying unused.
Yeah. So now that begs the question of, if it is Zora, where's the remaining 84 rupees coming from? But for now, we do have both runners in the Palace of Darkness. We did see the bow lock with the big key in the shooter chest. And then, as you said before, azder took that, went up the left side, got a small key straight to the boss. Remains to be seen if daaanty will go to the back or if that's it.
Nope, so this is a bit of a divergence here. azder is concerned about rupees, and Daaanty is not.
Yeah, we'll see if or how that comes into play later. For now, it's just getting the crystals out of an empty pod. Of course, this is the last crystal that azder can get for now. He can't get to the back of Skull Woods without a fire rod. Can't get into Ice Palace without Bombos or a fire rod. So, I think that book is probably on his mind at this point, but we'll see.
Yep, which means if we can scrounge up another 83 rupees, then we might very well see a Zora play as we're headed into Eastern. That's kind of interesting. Especially because outside of the potential of requiring a Cane of Samaria, both to make Ice Palace a bit faster and for the possibility of right side GT Big Key, we have everything we need, I think.
Yes. Aside from that specific possibility in Ganon's Tower, Dante's got everything he needs. I know that the tracker doesn't have the hammer lit up, but there are issues with that as far as I'm aware, and he clearly has it because he's pounding away at Helmsword King's Mask right now.
Yeah, same thing with azder and the hookshot. Alright, so we're going to do some good old-fashioned rupee farming on azder's side.
Alright. So, seems like he definitely wants that 500. And yeah, he's stopping at 502.
And that is really interesting because Daaanty is completely and totally ignoring that. Just not even remotely bothered or concerned by those rupees at all. So it really makes me wonder what's on Zora that azder would be concerned about, that Daaanty would just be like, no thank you.
The first possibility that comes to mind is silver arrows. And I think chat's thinking along the same lines I am here.
I mean, that's a possibility, yes, but wouldn't you still be at a significant time loss, especially because Meyer is not required from the best that we can tell at this point?
Yeah. I don't know. The thought may just be, gotta come up here anyways for that book. But you are right. Chat's also saying, yeah, azder didn't come all this way for silver arrows.
I didn't think so. azder is a very high-class execution runner, and I don't see him coming all the way up here for silvers.
Yeah.
Cane of Samaria, that's kind of interesting. So that is one of those potentially required items, but at the very least, we'll save a couple minutes in Ice Palace here.
Yeah, it'll let him do the icebreaker, but the assumption here is that since we've got all the items we need to clear the game now, like guaranteed with that cane pickup, excuse me, that we're not checking any chests here in Ice Palace. So in that case,
because Daaanty couldn't do well, Daaanty couldn't do the bomb jump, so the only option was to hover at that point.
Yeah, that's unlucky. Just running out of health at that stage. Ouch, that feels so bad. So I was going to say that Icebreaker is a time save in Go Mode Ice Palace, but it's a tiny one compared to full clearing. I'm talking like maybe a dozen seconds. So, but when you can't do the bomb jump, or you die in the middle for whatever reason, like we saw from Daaanty here, that just compounds everything. And I think this is Houlihan. Yeah, he didn't drop in, so it's Houlihan.
So then is daaanty going for the Cane of Samaria as well?
There are no bottles, or at least no bottles that we've seen, so not going to be buying potion with it. Let's see where he goes. Okay, so Mire area.
So either something in the Mire area or going to go ahead and grab that mushroom from Desert.
It's Checkerboard Cave, skipping that mushroom.
Okay, so we know the mushroom gives 300, so maybe there's some money in here?
Yep, another big 300 right in here. So that's 500 for him. He can go get the Cane of Samaria now. And we sort of just glossed over it while trying to piece together how daaanty was routing the rupees here, but azder did Icebreaker very cleanly, not going to have the bomb jump, and is into the depths of Ice Palace. And he is presumably just going for a straight boss rush here.
Yep, which after that interesting little turn of events here, we are looking at quite a lead for azder, actually.
Yeah. daaanty fell behind on the route slightly with that super early book pickup, but that was something that azder was going to have to come back for, even if he did that slightly more efficiently, routing it in with Zora here. But the big thing at this point that sets them apart, that death in Ice Palace for daaanty is very costly, but he also had an early death on the mountain, which caused him to have to go back there a second, or really more of a third time to get his boots. And I think those two make up pretty much the entirety of the difference right now.
Yeah, and speaking of, I would just like to... Oh, so at this point, azder is going to have to use the sword beams to make up some damage, because we do not have bombos, and we do not have anywhere near enough for 8 shots on the shell.
Yeah, but he knows it. He's doing it pretty well, and there it is. So now he's just got to get his slashes in up here. Bit unfortunate with them getting out of the corner, but he's got him. Didn't fall victim to the falling ice either. Well done.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of when I saw him down to 1 heart. Speaking of which, so you had mentioned earlier in the game that generally people like going for 7 to 8 hearts with usually some blue mail to go with that. And we're currently sitting on 4. daaanty with green mail and 4 hearts, and azder just having picked up a 5th heart and having that blue mail. This is a bit less health than we want to deal with.
Yeah, and we're already sitting on 6 crystals. The only thing left is Skull Woods. There really aren't that many quote-unquote in-the-way chests in that dungeon either. Although, chat's pointing out that azder did take the time to pick up that blue mail in the Thieves' Town big chest, and he did take a hit from Cold Stare. Would have died from that instantly, if not for the mail, so... I think picking up that chest, big time save for him, even if it took him a few extra seconds in the immediate term.
Yeah, I feel like in a seed where you know you're going to finish with probably less than half a dozen hearts, grabbing blue mail, almost definitely going to be worth it no matter what caliber of execution you have on your side.
Yeah. So I think I've talked to a few runners about this topic, and while like 7 hearts blue mail seems to generally be the standard, I have talked to a few who will remain nameless that would be very happy with less. I think the most extreme I heard was 4 blue mail. So different runners obviously have very different preferences here, and it's really just a matter of comfort.
Sorry, that was a clutch heart drop. daaanty really needed that refill because he is just short of the 8 shots for the fire rod as well.
Yeah, but he's using Sword Beam tech here, so he's good, except for potentially his health. Because those falling ice chunks are 2 hearts green mail. That's what he got hit by already. But there we go. That's Cold Stare down for daaanty as well. He's got a Palace of Darkness and Skull Wood still to clear out, as azder is getting his 7th crystal right now.
I'm pretty sure that daaanty did pod. I might be mistaken.
Oh, right, you're right. Tracker has issues sometimes. And I should know because I've pressed those buttons plenty of times myself, and that happens. I just had a moment. And that moment caused us to totally gloss over azder's moth fight, which was quite clean.
It was. So at this point, azder ahead by a go mode Skullwood. So a couple minutes. And we are headed up the mountain at 44 minutes and change. So this proving to be one of the quicker ones. We don't have a whole lot of time here since azder insists on running quickly. But there are 22 locations in the basement of GT that could contain the big key. Don't give me a number because we're not going to be checking a whole lot of chests along the way, hopefully. But go ahead and give me a room and chest location if there are multiple chests in the room. So Ray, did you take a look at GT today?
I did, but there is one thing I just want to say. If it's not in Tile Room or the Compass Room, that can of Samaria that they both went out of their way for was not required at all.
That's a good point. And with that in mind, I would like to think that it would be in one of those 5 chests. Since if it wasn't, I feel like you wasted more time than you saved there. Although Icebreaker does also make Ice Palace safer. You get to skip through a lot of the rooms where you could, tic-tac, take a couple hearts of damage. And when you're sitting at 4 hearts, a couple of hearts of damage is, well, most of your health. Cutting it close there. So I'm going to go ahead and say Tile Room, because I have reason to be a jerk, and it's funny.
It's almost like you don't want azder to have any hope of cutting 50 minutes this seed.
Oh, that's not happening, regardless of where it is. 4 minutes for the climb and the fight? That would be insane.
Nope. But you could still cling to hope if you didn't have to spend 40 seconds of those 4 minutes in the Tile Room. But we do have Kane out, and the small key there, and it's not Tile Room. But hey, daanty's got a moth down, got 7 crystals. So he's just the mountain climb and GT opening behind, really, at this point. Which, considering the mishaps he had, basically having to go through Ice Palace 1.5 times, even in go mode, that's pretty solid.
Red mail, nice rod, and there is our big key. And a small key to go with it. Cool. That's a pretty convenient compass room right there.
Yeah, that room is an absolute party and a half right there. Like, who cares about being only on 5 hearts compared to 7 or 8 when you've got red mail instead of blue?
I mean, speaking of things that don't care about your mail, how about those spikes there that azder had to avoid?
Yeah, those are fixed 1 damage. So are the spikes in this room. I believe the BMOs are fixed damage as well, am I wrong? Am I misremembering?
No, those are definitely fixed damage.
Yeah, so there's actually a depressingly large number of fixed damage things at the top of the tower that azder's going to have to deal with here.
That being said, is Ganon red mail 4 hearts? Can azder actually tank a hit from the pig?
I believe that's correct, yeah. And we do see him take a slight detour into the safety room there for that full magic refill.
Which is one thing
he was... Sorry? I was going to say, it had to be the magic refill, because he was on full bombs before blowing that open, and he was on full health as well.
That does remind me of one thing that I usually mention during these races that I forgot to this go-round, and that's that this race format is a bit more similar to NMG in a lot of ways versus regular Randomizer, in that there's no stream delay other than just the stream delay for using the restream. And our runners are allowed to either stream snipe one another or watch the restream if they so desire. So it's very much possible that azder knows that he's slightly ahead at this point, and that's why he decided to go ahead and knock out that magic refill.
Yeah. And on the other side of the coin there, we have had daaanty a few times in chat, probably noticing all the times I mispronounced his name before chat called me on it. So, yeah. Hello, guys. Hope you're having fun with this race, regardless of what end of it you're on.
I'm willing to bet these Wizrobe rooms are slightly more satisfying given that you had to go out of your way to get that stinking cane. At least you get to use it here.
There's blue mail for daaanty. It's not going to be the same red mail that azder's got. And he's going to actually be playing one-hit KO with Ganon Hug specifically in that fight. But he can at least take a few more hits than before now. And azder making sure not to despawn the tower there. Did not climb those stairs on the same frame that the torch in the previous room died out.
That is a terrible, terrible mistake that most people who play the randomizer make once. And then you generally never make it again, because it's a terrible thing to have to climb the tower twice.
Yep, make it once, forfeit, and then take that room really cautiously so that you never do it again. And there is Moldorm 2 down, skipping the last chests of the game. There's no like safety or heart in there he could grab just to give him a last second power up, so who cares?
I mean, butter would be nice, so would the silvers actually.
Yeah, and in a non-spoiler seed, that sort of thing would absolutely be a reason to check that chest if you want them. But we know that that's not what's in there.
Right. Speaking of which, since we are getting down to that point while azder absolutely annihilates Aga 2, I would like to just say, for those of you who are curious, the silvers were sitting in the big chest of Skull Woods, and the big key was in the back, so that's why we don't have silvers today. And our last sword was actually in Paradox Cave, but since there was absolutely nothing else there, that also got skipped.
I mean, there was a significant amount of safety in Paradox Cave if you wanted to go out of your way for it. There were three heart pieces, which would practically make a fourth for a full container really easy to route in. And there was a bottle to be had as well, which both of these runners skipped all four of those entirely this seed. Which actually, the other bottles, there was one that was skipped in Hookshot Cave where the boots were. There was one in Hype Cave that we obviously never saw this seed. And the last one was on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, there's no way in heck we were seeing that one, unless you put the Triforce in that bottle.
Yep. Also, what we didn't really see was azder making an absolute joke of the first two phases of Ganon, already one hit away from entering the Silverless phase. And yep, did you find the arrows in Skull Woods? No, but who cares?
Yeah, if we were in a position where Mire was a crystal, I could see that pickup potentially being worth it, but without having to kill Vitreous, It just wasn't going to happen this season.
Yeah, and honestly, I think if a magic cape was available somewhere, then that would probably take the place of the silver arrows for these runners with the conventional vanilla strats. Because those are pretty fast too when done well. We did see azder switch to the fire rod from the lamp after getting the torch glitch to try to get 3 spins in 1 lamp cycle for Ganon here. Does get it here, and that's going to put Ganon down for him.
Meanwhile, daaanty over here saying, Moldorn 2? I don't think so.
Yeah, that chest was worse than vanilla with having just arrows in it. But that's azder finishing in first place, the time of 54 minutes and 11 seconds.
Nice double there by daaanty.
Yep, 2 doubles, but Blue Ball says no to the triple. And that pattern was just very unfriendly for a double, so we'll have Agatu down on this cycle. And we are joined by winner azder as daaanty finishes his Agatu fight, drops in. So,
Thank you.
if we can hold off on talking about the race for a sec, just while daaanty tears through his Ganon fight here, that would be all right. Thank you. Okay, daaanty's having a bit of a giggle there with that pit, but here we go in the fight.
To be perfectly honest, I had a bit of a giggle as well.
Yeah, it was a little amusing, but that's the 1 cycle phase 1, getting the dashes and the double spin here for the 1 cycle phase 2. Just gotta dodge some fire bats and he'll be good.
I mean, Reg, I'm pretty sure that everyone who's heard this set of commentary has realized that I'm more easily amused than you are.
I mean, just floating on the pit for a couple seconds is definitely at least somewhat funny, but I'm pretty sure that daaanty's the one who enjoyed it the most.
I'm not sure. We'll have to ask, because I did really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, back to the fight. Lamp spam for the torch glitch, no problem. And then same strategy we saw on azder's side, switching to the fire rod for these triple spins. And just gotta get a few of them to not Ganon down.
Yep, it is 12 spins in total, regardless of whether or not you have tempered or butter, since butter spins don't do any more than tempered spins do. So 12 spins to take out Ganon, and then we'll be done.
Nah, if you've got butter, the real party strat there is slashes. Hitting that 2-frame window. Although daaanty back to the lamp on a very tiny amount of magic there. Just wants to be sure he can wrap up the fight cleanly, and there it is. So he's just got across the bridge here. And while the fanfare plays, azder, we sort of put you on the back burner there while that happened, but GG to you. And that's daaanty finishing with a time of 57:27.
Alrighty, and we are joined in the booth by daaanty. GG.
Yo, GG, azder.
Yeah, GG. I was pretty nervous for this one.
So,
Yeah, terrible.
How about the health?
The health was fun. That wasn't as scary as the week 1 draw though, because I was like, "Oh, I get to play azder week 1. This will be great." And like,
Yeah, I was pretty nervous about it myself. Like this was one of the hardest round ones that was pulled, I think.
Yeah, like I did a little bit of looking over the matchups on Challenge when they were first drawn, and this match was definitely one of the ones I had circled as interesting.
I do have to tell a fun story. Because once I realized I had made a grave error, that was when I really felt like just kind of memeing. But I figured if azder made a mistake, I'd have a chance. So I didn't want to like do something like a major glitch to like have to forfeit or something. But I was like, man, look at this guy going to get the Cane of Samaria just to save time with Icebreaker. That's not going to do anything, just do it normal. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, where's that big key to GT? And then oh man, I'm an idiot. So I didn't route that in. Also, with the rules of like letting us watch this, I totally forgot to route in the Moon Pearl. So after I got my mitts, I was like, all right, let's go get hooked. Wait a minute. Where's the Moon Pearl? So, yeah, tons of nerves for this first race, man. Spoilers are hard.
Yeah, they really are. I had a plan for my rupees. I guess you didn't for a while because you were set on not getting the cane, but I had a plan for mine where I was going to get the two 300s. One of them was going to be the mushroom from desert, and the other was going to be the 300 from floating island when I was getting the boots. And then I'm at Upshot Cave, and I'm just like, I'm like pretty close to 200 rupees. Maybe I can skip this one and like go die to a Lionel and try and save my portal in Kakariko so I don't have to walk up and lift the Black Rock to go back to Thieves' Town. So I died to the Lionel, and then I spawned back in the Dark World because I have Aga dead, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't think this through. Like, I thought it through pretty well, but like just not far enough. So that's what I got for trying to big brain. And then after that, I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to be short like 100 for like if I get Samaria and I need to open pod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do pod, and then I'm going to go into Eastern and get the 90 in the back when I'm doing that. And I go into Eastern and I'm like, wait, this is a pendant. Oh god.
Oh man, yeah, I had no plan for money. I remember seeing the 300 at C-shaped house. I'm sorry, checkerboard cave, and in the log, and so that was like, okay, I need to come up with something else. I guess I'll save and quit in Houlihan, and that'll be enough. But totally, yeah, didn't have any idea about doing money. I had to kind of figure that out on the fly. If it had been somewhere really dumb, this would have been like a very, it should have been a bigger gap than it was for this race, I think.
Oh, I missed the checkerboard one. That would have been a really good one.
So,
Yeah, that
gonna
was
lie.
actually the one I was expecting to come into play on the 300 front. So
I'm not gonna lie, I don't ever look at the GT big key if I can help it. Like, there are certain situations where you have to check for something to see if something's in GT for requirements for like desert entry for instance. But I try not to look at GT, so I had no idea where the big key was either. So I was actually doing the same thing you were, daaanty, when azder like is picking up all this money. I'm like, wow, he really wants that Cane of Samaria. And then, sure enough, the big key's over there, and I'm like, oh, well, never mind.
Oh, and the best part is I didn't even route ice correctly. I forgot to hit the switch. And then I was just like, okay, where can I get keys to like make up for this? So I knew where the big key was. And then I was like, okay, I need to make sure I have full health for Cold Stare because now I don't have enough magic.
yeah, isn't big key all you need to skip the crystal switch though?
You need big key and an extra key, and you
Oh.
already need a key to leave the.
Well, that one's just the one under the rock, right?
Yeah, but I didn't pick it up because I wasn't thinking about it.
Oh, right.
And
Sorry.
like I was thinking, okay, I'm just gonna get my key from the big key chest because there's one there, and that one's really fast. It's faster than the one under the rock. But then I just skipped the one under the rock, and I'm like, wait, that was a huge mistake.
Yeah, and today I learned that you need an extra small key to go mode Ice Palace with Icebreaker. So I knew the big key was required to skip the crystal switch. I just forgot you needed a small key too, or never knew.
Yeah, so like two very weird things different from last year is that one, I've had to get used to progressive bows being a thing when routing this. And two is I am not used to routing Ice Palace and Spoiler Log with Icebreaker, so some mistakes might happen, like this one.
Well, I will say that you said earlier you expected the 3-minute gap to be a little bit wider there, given some of the mishaps, Stanty.
Yeah, I mean, I know Asder's a really good NMG runner, much better than me. So I figured if there was an execution advantage, I figure it was on his side. So I was like, I'm gonna have to play this probably as low percent as I can. Hope he maybe routes in some safeties, and then I can squeak it out potentially or something. But you know, the cabbages on Death Mountain, nice RNG.
Yeah, like my thought here is that you did a fantastic job keeping the gap relatively close, considering those cabbages and considering Ice Palace. So, wanted to give you props for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, taking a death on Death Mountain, trying to get to the boots, and in Hera, after forgetting to get the mitts, because I thought the map chest was at the top. That's like my biggest weakness, is trying to remember what the map and the compass chests are. And I pretty much always guess wrong. Like when I think, oh, it's got to be that one, and it's not. So, you know, I guess I need to study up on that. I get to do what, 6-7 weeks of this. This will be fun. I'll get better along the way, I think. But spoiler is, I haven't really been playing these. They're fun. I really like the low percent element to them, but they're just the game's hard to process sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful format, but I do personally consider this the most challenging format to race. So.
Yeah,
it's so hard.
There is no chill in Spoiler Log. There's not. You have 15 minutes of screaming and pulling out your hair, and then somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and 10 minutes just trying not to friggin' die.
Yeah, dying is it's kind of like a death sentence. I guess pun intended, maybe. I don't know, but it really is, just because depending on where you die in spoiler, it really is the like, I don't know. It's the biggest thing to make you lose time, especially overworld deaths. But anyway,
Daaanty with the killer puns.
it wasn't that great, but you know.
Oh, I get it.
I guess the real question is, did people enjoy that one more, or Daaanty having fun with the Ganon hole more?
I mean, I enjoyed the hover more. I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting here chuckling with push to talk off, so you guys couldn't hear me. But I was having a good hard laugh.
Yeah, myself and Sailor Nep, we always try to hover the Ganon hole, especially like if you've lost and you know it's over at that point. You know, if you've seen the dot done in a normal type race, and I don't know, chat likes it sometimes. It really has no element but wasting time. But yeah, I'm glad people enjoyed it.
So is Ganon hole hover like saving the animals now?
I guess so. That's like the LTTP version of saving the animals.
So, were you attempting to hover over the entire thing, or were you just attempting to hover to the middle and stay there for a while?
You basically just hover to the middle and stay there as long as you can until you just drop the hover. So I dropped it that time. There's only been one instance of doing it where it's like I had to just let go of the controller, but that doesn't happen often.
That was probably hilarious to watch. You're just sitting there hovering for a good 10, 15, 20 seconds. Like, okay, we get it, you can hover.
Yeah, it's a bad meme.
It's the first time I've ever seen it, so it's new to me. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, well, enough people enjoy it that it might stay afloat for quite some time.
Aha.
That pun was bad enough that I'm going to give you the boot.
Well, thanks again, guys, for doing this restream and doing the commentary and the tracking. I don't know who's on tracking for this, but I do appreciate it and appreciate the opportunity. And GG again to Azder, and looking forward to week 2.
Hey, you guys do the hard part. Without you guys here, we'd just be sitting here and talking to ourselves. Speaking of tracking, huge shout out to Yoinker's wife, who was pressing the buttons. It is hard to track a spoiler log because everything happens really quick, and we obviously had a little bit of technical difficulties with the tracker, which does happen. Reg can say much more on that than I can. He does track fairly frequently, and I do not. But shout outs to both of you guys. You guys did great. If you haven't already, give these guys a follow because they've ripped through this seed with 10 hearts in between them, which that's not fun. But they did really well, and shout outs to our tracker, Yoinker's wife.
Yep, Yoinker's wife always great to have behind the scenes, hitting the buttons and keeping comms in line. So, yeah, big shout outs to everybody involved. Great race. And I think that's pretty much it for us. There is more spoiler tournament action to be had tonight. There's a Relkin vs. Kyong starting in about 50 minutes on the main SpeedGaming channel. And there's Ye Old Fart Gamer vs. Port Collector on SpeedGaming 5 an hour after that, so just under 2 hours from now. And starting at the same time on SpeedGaming 6, there's SailorNet vs. Orange. So lots of stuff to check out through the rest of the night. And I think that's gonna be it for us. I've been Reg, my partner's been Hammer, and Hammer, you can have the last word if you want it.
Cool. I guess I'll take it so we don't just drop on a weird note. Reg, you hit up pretty much everything. So as per usual, I'm just gonna kind of sit here and say, hey, everyone stay safe. I hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you around next time. Have a good one.